times that we feel alright. That's what we need to live. Friends we are, how until we shall give. All times that we laughed and cried. All times that we feel alright. That's what we need to live. Friends we are, how until we shall give.
Right, thanks for staying with us. Roy, over to you. We'll carry on with the next topic.
Right, Fedora 15 is coming out, I think, on the, well, obviously 20-something of the month. It actually went gold about 4 days ago, I believe. So that's going to be one of the first main distributions to come out with an interface that's the GNOME shell. And I say mainstream or main distributions because, of course, there were, distributions doing that before. But they probably weren't like some of the major, top 10 or top 5 or whatever. Actually, incidentally, OpenSUSE is in fact incorporating Unity now to some extent. They actually package it under one of the branches that they have, which is kind of interesting. So you see more distributions at least offer it as a choice. So there is not so much resistance to Unity. In fact, there is some acceptance of it and inclusion in packages, despite the fact that there is the copyright assignment agreement in Canonical. So we had this interview with Fedora a few shows ago, and I kind of hope they'll do well. I think it's a very important distribution for those who really strive towards having free drivers. I mean, you mentioned this earlier. You mentioned the fact that in Ubuntu, I know this from personal experience, when you have let's say an NVIDIA card, it does give you the option of adding the proprietary driver, and you don't actually have to go to the site to download the blob or to exit X and to run it from the command line or anything like that. In fact, you can just do it in a few clicks, and I'm not even sure you have to, you probably do have to restart X server to enable that. But it's really, really simple to do. But then again, it's binary. So in Fedora, what they do try to do is to include 3D support by default. Obviously, without proprietary software, without actually knowing what's running on your inside your machine, but it's running decently. But some people who don't really know the value of freedom, and not trying to be derogatory or anything, but people who don't really know what it means for a computer to be free, they just kind of think, well, I just want it to work, and what is free software? What is source code? I don't know what source code is. they probably will not understand that, so they have no reason usually to look at Fedora. But those who are striving to make a distribution that's really based on free software, almost entirely, it does have some firmware and things like that, might want to look at Fedora 15 when it comes out. It's I used version 14 and really enjoyed it. Actually, if you I made a dent yesterday, which got me in a bit of a storm in Identica, because people misunderstood what I was trying to say, and they thought I was implying that all Fedora contributors are employees of Red Hat, which of course I knew they weren't. And then there was this discussion about whether my quotes were quotes or scare quotes, and then there is like the convention, what is scare quotes, is it one quote, and a long discussion anyway, and then there was a bit of a argument there, but yeah, so I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable with Fedora the past day or so. Some people who follow me probably know what I'm talking about. But anyway, then we have GNOME 3.2 being discussed in the sense that the features are being talked about. And one remark that I made yesterday was, I mean, here we are in the free desktop. We were talking about features and we were talking about applications. And then I kind of asked myself, what's happening with Windows? I mean, what do they talk about? All I can hear, when I hear about things like Windows 7, Windows 8 now, or I call it Vista 8 because I think it's really very similar to Vista, and all they talk about, we can add ARM support too. And of course, there is lots of headlines now. There's lots of discussion about, actually coming from Intel, which is a very surprising source for this to come from. They stick with Linux because they say Windows is not going to run any third-party application. It barely is going to run anything if it runs on ARM processors. So the whole promise of Windows running on ARM is pointless because everything's binary. Nothing's going to work on an ARM processor. And what else do they offer? What do they actually talk about in terms of features?
It surprises me because they're powering ahead with all this Windows 8 talk, and still they haven't got the success that I presume they would have wanted with Windows 7. We still see a massive amount of people with Windows XP.
Yeah, well, they never succeeded. I think that this you probably will agree with me. Do you remember the marketing back in the days? Windows 7 is selling wonderfully, and these numbers, and it stopped. It just about stopped about, I don't know, 6 months ago, 4 months ago, because they couldn't produce the numbers, the fake numbers to stuff in the channels and issuing. What they do sometimes is they go to a business and they say, well, we'll give you 10 licenses of Windows. You don't have to use them now, but you could install them if you want to. And some of them will buy XP, and they'll say, well, it's XP, but let's call it Windows 7 because you could install Windows 7 using the same license. And they stuff them onto businesses. So even though businesses at a time, after almost a year after release, less than 10% actually adopted Windows 7, they would claim, numbers like, 200 million or 300 million, depends when you measure. The numbers of machine actually running the software wasn't high. I mean, I barely see people with Windows 7. I maybe see, around me, I see maybe 1 in 10 computers running it. And that's like mostly home use.
Yeah.
That just shows you that they have the same issue now with Windows Phone, and they couldn't. I think that the idea that they have with Skype, for example, they want to try and exclude people with iPhones in some ways without getting too much antitrust fire. Is to try and say, well, they don't have Skype. They lose money when they phone people, and if you go with a Windows Phone, we can offer you free calls to places, but. Again, it's how do they get people to even buy it in the first place?
Talking of which, I read a little rumour, well, I don't believe it's a rumour. Believe somebody has told me that 1.6 million units sold of Windows Phone 7. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? Is that have we now found?
Makes sense. But is it to shops or to actual customers?
Well,
remember, almost 100,000 of them were distributed to employees of Microsoft to begin with, so they could show you some big numbers upon launch based on the pre-orders and businesses that they made contracts with, including Dell, in fact.
And staying on the subject of Windows rumours, there's or Microsoft rumours, there's another one that came out that even the 10 years behind BBC Click managed to mention on the show today, which was that there's a rumour come from a blogger that Microsoft might be buying Nokia. I don't know if you've got a take on that.
Just a mobile unit. That's yes. The blogger is, I think, is a Russian